congratulations on the documentary. Incredible watch. What did you make of it overall?
I was happy with it. Yeah, I mean the Lawton Entertainment filmed us for 20 months, I think it was. So it was a real sort of fly on the wall documentary, and they captured some fantastic footage. And Gavin, who's the director, he done a brilliant job at they got very lucky with the timelines and how like Chris was to box Lawrence in the final episode, but he did a remarkable job at putting it all together. So I was impressed and happy with it.
Chris said he's watched the final episode quite a few times, and how proud does it make you to feel as well, just at how to show the kind of camaraderie that the gym has, how everyone gets behind each other. When one's fighting, everyone else is there too.
Yeah, it's a real team effort, and I mean in a very insular, singular sport. Like, it's a lonely place, and that's what we try and make it as much. And Chris is a huge part of that. I remember him as just a novice professional turning pro. He'd be asking me, Shane, can I come to the fights and just be a part of it and gathering that experience, and now he can give that experience to the other fighters and give them that little bit of confidence and edge that they sometimes would need in competitive fights.
What's your relationship with Chris like? Of course, you said in it that he's probably your closest friend within the gym of all the fighters. What's your relationship like?
Very, very good. It's always been great. I've had some great relationships with fighters over the past. I'm godfather to George Groves' kid. And Chris is similar ages. I feel like the kids coming through now. Adam's 21. He's about to be turned 22 next month. So, it's mad to think I was I'm a lot older than him. So, it's with Chris. He's similar sort of upbringing with the age. Like, we didn't grow up with iPhones and stuff, so you can just relate a little bit more. But we've got a great relationship with everybody in the gym, and it's great to have Chris involved.
And cast your mind back for me. The Mateus Masternak fight was a stoppage in the end for a broken rib. Something Chris told you to target. Sorry, you told Chris to target, of course. Just tell me a little bit about that. Where did you kind of spot that might be a good area to target?
I didn't necessarily spot that he had a broken rib. I just know that Masternak has got a fantastic chin, and when you've got a guy with a great chin like that, you've got to think about other ways to create damage, and body shots was the one. And Chris is a great body puncher anyway, so he sometimes relies on headshots too much and looks for the big shot rather than working them downstairs. And he did it really well in that fight. Wasn't the best performance, but turned the script and overcame a slight off night.
In the fight a year ago at the stadium, Lawrence Okoli, you said Lawrence Okoli was the best cruiserweight at the time. How does Richard Riakporhe compare?
He's a good cruiserweight. He's a very good cruiserweight. He's a slightly more all-rounder than Lawrence. Lawrence, it's a different fight. They might resemble each other with like stature and punching power, but it's a different fight. Richard's a little bit more patient. He sets things up a little bit better, but he doesn't fight at the same intensity that Lawrence does, and he's not as physically strong, and I don't believe he's got the same pop and power. They both can really, really bang, and if they hit any cruiserweight, they can hurt any cruiserweight. But I think it's going to be a lot more of a technical fight, this one.
How's preparation been already? I know we're still got a while to go, but how's the camp been for Chris? And are you working on any kind of game plans at all? Obviously not to reveal them, but you got something in your mind.
Of course, yeah, I know. Listen, just like his team will be looking at Chris and think this is the way to beat him. We think that we got the answer and ability to. We've got the strategy, and we've got a guy that can execute the strategy and be able to beat Richard Riakporhe. But there's so many different variables on fight night. You have to take into consideration cuts, slight flus, things like that. Sparring. How does the sparring go? Sometimes fighters can peak perfectly. Other times, people can leave it in the gym a little bit. But I've been doing this long enough that it's quite. We've refined it, especially with Chris. We've refined it quite well, and we know how to get him in tip-top shape. And I just have a sneaky feeling that I think he's gonna do a really good job on Richard Riakporhe.
I was chatting to Chris a while back about, how he's the husband and the father to, his wife and his son, and then how he can go from that and then to going to step into a boxing ring, and two kind of stark contrast, and like how he manages to kind of make that step between the two. And he said he feels like he's almost got like two people, and he can switch between the two quite easily. As a coach, do you see that, and do you feel like the way that he can switch between the two is is why he's been so successful?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he calls himself the gentleman, and I was helped him find that nickname, but he's anything but when he gets in there. He's an absolute savage, and you've got to be. That's just a simple fact of the matter, and that's why I think a lot of fighters struggle when they retire, because there's you're turning that switch all the time, and then they don't have that ability to do it, and they don't have that advice to sort of competitiveness and get that aggression out. And he manages it very well, but he also knows that he can't lose his head too much, because then you stop thinking. And yeah, he's definitely got that. A lot of time when people have kids as well, it can take away that edge. I've had fighters in the past that they've had a kid, and you can just see it's not. They have kids young. They've always grew up with a child, but being a parent myself as well, I'm like, oh, it's quite a
priority change a bit.
It's quite a change. It's a big shift in terms of assessing danger. Do you know what I mean? You think like, all right, I'm not going to drive fast here. Why would I? Why would I ever jeopardise that? And boxing is quite similar in the sense like, why would I jeopardise, my health when I've got all of this there? But he's very in control of his boxing, and he does everything right, and he's fighting for him and his family's future, which is it's quite amazing to see.
Someone else from down south, Lee Cutler, he's now part of the gym. He's been there for a while now, obviously under the stewardship of Josh Pritchard. How's he getting on? Hopeful that, I know we haven't had any announcement yet, but he wants to fight versus Joe Laws, doesn't he? He wants Joe Laws. Yeah, that's a exciting fight. It'd be good for the build-up. There'll be a lot of back and forth and a little bit of needle. So there's other potential fights out there as well for Lee. So we're just working on something, and hopefully we can deliver it soon. What caught your eye with Lee when you first spotted him? Was it you or Josh or Chris come to you say, you need to have a look at him? It was actually Josh. Lee had been working with Kev, who's a good coach, but being in Bournemouth and being around the people that you love every day, sometimes fighters need to get out of their comfort zone, and certain fighters can go and sleep in their house every night and go to the gym around the corner, but others need to kind of go away for camp, and I feel like it's been good for him. The distractions are not there. Lee approached Chris, and Chris approached Josh and myself, and obviously I'm not coaching him, but I'm helping guide him, and I think he's a top lad, and he's got a lot of ability. He needs that belief in himself. He needs that confidence, but you get that through competitive fights.